I left photographic evidence of my husband cheating somewhere his parents should not have looked. I, 30 female, kicked my husband, 28 male, out of my house. It was my house prior to us getting married and it remains my house now. I knew when I married him that he was bisexual. I was okay with it as long as he understood that we were monogamous. I said that I would never agree to an open relationship and that if that was what he wanted, he needed to be with someone else. He agreed and said that I was the person he wanted to be with and that I was more than enough to satisfy him. He lied. I found out he was having an affair with a man. I went through his iPad and took all the pictures for myself. Graphic. In a Mapplethorpe kind of way. When I confronted him, he became physically aggressive. I was scared. He calmed down when I got Siri to call 911. He left. Anyway, I did not want him in my house again ever. When he wanted his things, I asked him to make a list and send it to me. I found every single thing on the list. I asked him where to send the box. He said he would pick it up. I told him that I would not let him set foot in my house and that I would call the cops if he tried. He said he would send friends to get his stuff. I said I would leave his box of crap with the front desk at my work. He didn't want to make them drive into the city. We compromised and I agreed to give his parents a temporary code for my house. They are lovely people and I trusted them. I could see everything on my security system and I would know if he tried getting into my house. The deal was that they would use the code, get the box from the front entrance, then close and lock the door. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Instead, it went difficult lemon screwed. I guess he didn't have everything on his list. He asked them to get something from my bedroom. Not the deal at all. I had my pictures of his infidelity in my room in my chest of drawers. In an envelope. So, to reiterate, to find these pictures, his mom had to go past our agreed limit into my house. She then had to enter my bedroom, open my chest of drawers, open an envelope, and look at what was inside. I felt violated watching the video. Then I giggled like a little kid. It was hilarious. I see them come into the house. They use the code and open the door. His dad comes in and grabs the box. He goes back to their vehicle with the box. His mom hesitates before walking into my house and going to my room. She goes to my chest and opens the top drawer where we keep a box full of jewelry. She sees an envelope with his name on it. She looks around, I'm not sure why. Then she looks at the contents. She screams, I assume since I have my feed on video only, then she stuffs the pictures back and closes the drawer and goes running for the truck. My father-in-law comes to the door, locks it and leaves. I guess he never told his parents about his proclivities. To say that this has created a problem for him is to take it lightly. I get a call from him. He says I left the pictures out for his parents to find. I did not. I should have scattered them on top of the box his parents picked up, but that felt cruel and unnecessary. Like I said, I have always found them to be lovely people. I told him where the pictures were. He said that he forgot about a ring he left off the list and he told his mom where it should be. I said I would have tossed it in the box if he told me. He said he forgot until they were on their way. He is upset that his parents know he is a power bottom. He is not happy at their house now and he is going to find somewhere else to stay. He said I'm an asshole for causing this problem. I think there are other candidates for assholehood. 1. Him for cheating. 2. Him for getting his parents to go against our agreement. 3. His mom for going against our agreement. 4. His mom for snooping. 5. His parents for homophobia. I am running away from home because I'm terrified of my husband and also deathly terrified of my son. I, 35 female, have a son, 18 male, and a husband, 45 male, who I'm attempting to divorce. I met my husband when I was 16 at the church in my hometown. At 17, he invited me over and I don't remember it well, but we ended up sleeping together. I was supposed to be cleaning his house for some extra pocket change but ended up pregnant. I still can't remember everything that happened, but when my parents found out, they confronted him and made me marry him. I had my son not much longer after that. My husband's a brute. He was always mean to me. I tried my best to make him happy. I'd cook his favorite foods, clean the house extra nice, and do childcare work to make a few dollars to buy him a treat or two, but if I made one mistake, he didn't like he'd hit me. I used to cry to my father about it, but he'd tell me it was my punishment for having premarital intercourse. I'd ask my father what my husband's punishment was, and he'd say,
"His punishment is having to settle for you."
I don't think I ever recovered from that. Before anyone asks about my mother has always been kind of out of it. She's been on medication since I was a child and she's kind of like a zombie. She doesn't talk much or do much of anything unless my father says so. She was different when I was little, but I hardly remember those days. The hitting got worse, to the point where I wasn't really allowed to leave the house, or if I did, I had to wear makeup or else my husband would think I was trying to get him in trouble. My son grew up watching this. I've heard stories of kids hating their abusive fathers, but my son loved his father more than he loved me. I never wanted my son to hate his father, but he started acting out and eventually, he started laying hands on me. My son started hitting me when he was 10. It was light and I'd tell him to stop, but as he got older, he started beating me. If I told him no, he'd beat me. If I didn't do something he wanted, he slapped or kicked me and even punched me. And my husband would back him up a lot of the time. He'd say,
"He's just learning to be a man. He'll stop when he's older and has his own life."
It got to the point where I was terrified of my baby. The only thing in this world I ever got to make, and he terrified me. When he was 16, he broke my arm really badly because I showed my husband his report card. My husband disciplined him but never told me how. I grew to hate my son so much every day, but I still tried to be good to him, to help him. He didn't want that. I couldn't make him want that. I couldn't sleep or eat without dreaming of my son and husband hurting me. My son once pinned me on the ground because I had asked him to help me lift something. I'm frail, so I can't lift much. When he pinned me, he hit me a lot and I could feel it. Hurting me aroused him. He humped me for a few seconds and then he started screaming at me, saying it was all my fault, and locked himself in his room. I didn't tell my husband. I should have, but somehow, I felt like I would have just gotten hurt worse either by my sons or my husband. He was 17 when this happened, so last year. After his 18th in January, I packed a bag and wandered off into the night. I don't have friends. My father wouldn't help me even if I told him these things. I slept on a park bench and went to the library and looked up a woman's shelter. I worked really hard and got a studio apartment. I don't know how, but my son found me. He spent hours at my door knocking and crying for me, calling me mama. He hadn't called me that in years. I was terrified he'd break the door down and drag me back to the house, but my neighbors made him leave. My son has somehow gotten my number, and now he, my husband and father, and some of my son's friends are texting me and calling me horrible names. My son says I'm a bad mother for running away and not loving him the way he loves me. My husband says he won't grant me a divorce, that he'll take whatever I have right now, and that I've failed as a woman. My father says I'll die alone because I'm a bad woman. My father even got my mother on the phone to speak to me. She's all pilled out though, so I shouldn't take her words to heart, but she says that a woman can never abandon her child no matter how painful life gets. She told me when my father hurt her, she never left me, so I was a coward and a failure. You leave my son. She said she could forgive divorce but not leave my baby behind. Am I the asshole? Edit 1. While I have no issues responding to comments, the idea of replying to personal messages terrifies me for some reason. Please don't be upset if I don't message you, I don't mean to be weird. Edit 2. I've been reading a lot of comments and I'm grateful and very overwhelmed. I won't get too specific, but I just packed an essentials bag and purchased a ticket for out of town. I got off the phone with a shelter a few thousand miles away and they're willing to get me once I arrive in their city. I'll figure out divorces and restraining orders once I'm finally there. Until then, I'll read comments to see if there are any more useful things to learn. Luckily, my studio is on a month-to-month lease because I had never really planned on making this a permanent home. So, leaving is as hard as I thought. Running away the first time was hard, but maybe the second time would be easier. Update: here's a small update, and I likely won't update again due to being nervous about everything, but I'm on a bus. I got on this morning and I'm about 5 hours away from the state, and then I'll be getting on a plane. I had enough money for a ticket, so I'll be super far away. I won't work on the divorce until a few months from now, and I have a small job lined up. It's nothing special, just a 12-an-hour fast food gig. I'm grateful for all the advice. My old landlord was sorry to see me go, but I paid off this month's rent and told him he could sell the little bit of furniture I had. He said he'd give me half of that money once it's all sold. He's very kind, a little scary looking, but when I spoke to him over the phone after I had left, he was very understanding. Thank you all for everything, and I'm sorry, but this is the last thing anyone will hear from me unless I work up the nerve to update again. You are all incredibly wonderful and special people to me.
We hope you enjoyed listening to today's stories. If you want to see more stories, check out these videos or check the links in the description for more videos. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And ring that notification bell.